Deion Sanders is arguably the greatest athlete to ever live. He made the World Series, won multiple Super Bowls, and even became the NFL's first two-way player. But deep down, Sanders was hiding a secret, and it almost cost him his life. But before Sanders stared death in its face, he had to deal with another setback. Deion Lewin Sanders was born to Connie and Mim Sanders on August 9, 1967, in Fort Myers, Florida. And at just 2 years old, his parents divorced, and his father was out of the picture. Instead, Sanders was raised by his single mother and her new husband, Willie Knight.
Mind you, both of my fathers had substance abuse. One of them was alcoholic, one of them was a drug addict.
Yet all the other kids were jealous. See, his future was already laid before him at just 8 years old. With his biological mom's and new dad's encouragement, Sanders started playing sports and never looked back. By the time he reached high school, he had made All-State in 3 sports: football, baseball, and basketball. And it was actually the latter that earned him his legendary nickname. After scoring 30 points in a basketball game, his friends started calling him Primetime. From that day forward, Sanders was 2 different entities.
Deion is kind of recluse, calm, very introverted. Prime is totally different. Prime is that alter ego that we all have, that I just have had an opportunity to enact.
In 1985, Prime was named to the Florida High School Association All-Century team. But there was one sport where Prime really took flight. After graduating from high school, the Kansas City Royals selected him in the 6th round of the MLB draft. This man had barely hit puberty and received an offer for $50 grand. But ultimately, Prime pulled a LeBron and took his talents to Tallahassee in 1985.
I was drafted by the Kansas City Royals out of high school. Dick Hauser was the manager. Dick Hauser is the one, the late great Dick Hauser was the one that said, son, if you're good enough for us to draft you right now, I hear you're a pretty good football player. I would go to college and we'll draft you again.
It was at Florida State where Prime made his first of many tough decisions. Limited to 3 sports, Sanders continued playing football and baseball, but dropped basketball to run track. As a freshman, he wasted no time. He played cornerback for the football team, outfield for the baseball squad, and even won a conference championship with the track team. Then in 1986, Sanders continued to shine, making 3rd-team All-American in baseball and All-South Independent first team in football.
Twists his way, finds an alley. Now it's just the power he'll outrun it.
The following year in 1987, his generational athleticism nearly backfired. Sanders found himself competing in the conference championships in track and baseball on the same day. First, he played in the semifinal baseball game against Southern Mississippi. Then he jogged to the track complex to sprint a leg of the 4x100 relay. And after the race, Sanders ran back to the baseball diamond to play against Cincinnati in the championship game. The craziest part of it all? Both teams ended up as conference champions. That said, his multitasking wouldn't always be so forgiving. But in the meantime, Sanders was untouchable, especially on the gridiron. As a junior, he played cornerback, punt returner, and kick returner, all while leading Florida State to an 11-1 record and getting voted first-team All-American. And at this point, you can't help but wonder, how did he have enough time for academics? See, that's the thing. He didn't. During his senior year, one thing became painfully obvious. Deion Sanders was destined for the pros. So in 1988, Sanders almost stopped attending classes entirely. And as you can imagine, his ego was mad inflated.
I don't follow trends, I set trends. I don't follow styles, I set styles. I've never in my life looked at somebody and said, let me see what he got on soccer. No. I make you look down at yourself when you see me.
Before a game against the Florida Gators, he pulled up in style.
My last game. That was the curtain call. That was it. That was the last hoorah. How else are you supposed to depart? You're supposed to limo yourself. And don't forget the tuxedo. I had a tuxedo and a top hat too. Yeah, that's the way I ended my career at Florida State.
Initially, he told the media, how do you think defensive backs get attention? They don't pay nobody to be humble. First, he doesn't show up to classes, and now he's getting dressed to the nines, talking crazy trash. And in the 1989 Sugar Bowl, Prime backed up his swag with a game-sealing interception.
Slack picked off by Primetime. What timing? Deion.
Following the season, he won the award for the nation's top defensive back and punt returner, en route to becoming a two-time first-team All-American. Yet Sanders still wasn't ready to commit to a single sport, a problem that would soon burn many bridges. While still at FSU, he was once again drafted by an MLB team, this time the New York Yankees.
Going into my junior year in the summer, I signed a Yankees contract.
Right.
Shortly after college, he dazzled NFL scouts with his track skills, torching the combine with a 40-yard dash time of 4.27 seconds.
The fastest man on earth.
4.2 something, because 4.3 wasn't even in the factor.
Hence, in the 1989 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected him 5th overall. Deion Sanders was now a professional athlete in 2 different sports. Oh, and he also married his girlfriend, Caroline Chambers, the mother of 2 of his kids. But just when his life couldn't get better, things became interesting. After signing an NFL rookie contract worth $4.4 million, Sanders took his primetime persona to the next level. During his first punt return, he did the unthinkable.
This is a beauty, and Sanders retreats back to the 32, drops the ball again, all the way for a touchdown.
That week, he also became the first professional athlete to score a touchdown and hit a home run in the same week.
You never know what you learn. Sanders drills one, hits it well to right field, and it's gone.
But Prime was only getting started, and the next year was more of the same. 3 picks, a punt return touchdown, and an interception to the house. But there was still one thing missing from his resume: a Pro Bowl appearance. See, Prime had yet to ascend to the game's best, and it was all because of an attitude problem. This was on full display during the 1990 MLB season. On May 22nd, he stepped up to the plate, only to hit a pop-up to shortstop. And Sanders didn't even bother running the first base. He ran straight to the dugout. Only future Hall of Famer catcher Carlton Fisk didn't respect Deion's effort, so he started cussing him out.
I don't know if anybody that I have ever played against has disrespected the game like he appears to be doing.
Yet Sanders had to clap back.
I didn't know anything about the history of the game and the respect level of the game. I just know at that time, if you challenge me, I was going to challenge you. If you act like you was going to put your hands on me, I'm going to put my hands on you first. That was the ignorance.
Yeah, this man desperately needed a reality check. That's when he faced fellow 2-star athlete Bo Jackson in a game that would go down in history.
Hit well to center field. Deion Sanders going back to the wall.
See, Prime wowed fans with his inside-the-park home run, but Bo stole the show. Yet Bo still didn't humble him, so Sanders demanded a $1 million salary in the offseason. Only the Yankees owner wanted no part in Prime's antics. So after the season, he placed Sanders on waivers, stating that his football career intoxicated his baseball career. And honestly, the owner wasn't wrong, because Sanders had an underwhelming .717 batting average throughout 2 seasons. This brings us to Deion Sanders' next difficult decision. In 1991, he had 2 options. He could either focus full-time on football or continue pursuing both sports. And ultimately, Sanders got his wish. He signed with the Atlanta Braves. This allowed him to play professional baseball and football in the same city, but it wasn't quite that easy. See, his contract required him to return to the Falcons after the MLB regular season, meaning Sanders watched in demise as the Braves reached the World Series before falling 1 win short of a championship. But that didn't stop Sanders. He came into the football season on a... The Falcons shocked everyone, finishing 10-6, their first winning season since he arrived. And this season was especially clutch for Sanders, because he started cooking. 6 interceptions and a defensive touchdown. It also marked the first Pro Bowl appearance of his career. And Prime's persona was really taking over, because MC Hammer even made a song about it. Then, in the first round, their new team anthem allowed them to do the unthinkable.
Stops and looks and back in the end zone.
Sadly, the Falcons came crashing back down to earth in the divisional round, losing by 24-7 to the Redskins in 1991. But Deion Sanders would take his flee this time. Baseball was his calling. See, Sanders knew the Braves had a chance to win it all. With a serious case of FOMO, Sanders restructured his contract so he could return to the Braves for the postseason. Sanders claimed, "The only way I have a chance to be successful in baseball is to give it a shot for a full season." And what transpired next was the best season of his career.
1-2 drill deep toward right field. Bonilla back toward that wall,
He batted .304, stole 26 bases, and led the National League with 14 triples in 97 games. And spoiler, the Braves made it to the postseason, so Sanders rejoined the team. However, there was just one small problem. He forgot to tell the Falcons, and the Falcons were livid. So they fined him $68,000 for choosing baseball. Yet on October 11th, the chaos was about to turn historic.
92 and you attempted 2 sports in a day.
Cool.
Did it. You were in Miami. Then you went to play for the Braves and LCS.
Right.
Tell me that story and how that even happened.
That happened because I had a football contract that I had to uphold. So the playoffs, just being there was just extra for the Braves because my contract was over. So I was just going over there just to help my teammates and all those wonderful receivers, and I'm sitting on the bench for 9 innings. That ain't right. So I said, I gotta go. I gotta play with my guys. So they made transportation. Nike did, of course, and I was able to get there and get back well before the game was going to start. They weren't going to play me anyway.
It started with the National League Championship Series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 12:18 a.m., Sanders boarded a private jet that traveled from Pittsburgh to a hotel in Miami. Then at 1:07 p.m., Sanders took his first defensive snap against the Miami Dolphins. He hadn't attended a practice all week, and the Falcons lost 21-17. Following the game, Sanders left the locker room after IV treatment and boarded a helicopter. By 8:28, Sanders arrived at Three Rivers Stadium just minutes before the first pitch. Yet Braves manager Bobby Cox shocked everyone. He chose not to play Sanders during the Pirates game. Instead, Sanders got flamed by the media, particularly by broadcaster Tim McCarver, who bashed Sanders for not sticking to one sport. And that's when the Braves did this.
He hacked to the 2-0, now the 2-1. Line drive and a base hit! Just as they score the tying run, Breed to the plate, and he is safe at the plate!
After the game, Sanders was fuming, so he attacked his biggest hater. But it didn't stop there, because Sanders used all his anger for good. He went on to have one of the greatest World Series of all time. He batted over .500, with 4 runs and 8 hits, all while playing through a broken bone in his foot.
Up the middle, a hit. Lemke will continue on toward third and get there without a throw. Deion Sanders continues to be a major player in the 1992 World Series.
He would have been named the MVP of the World Series if it weren't for heartbreak. Sadly, the Braves fell short, and his football season wouldn't be much different. Despite leading the league in kickoff return yards and making first-team All-Pro for the first time in his career, the Falcons fell short of the playoffs. And by 1993, fans wondered why Prime didn't just stick to one sport. But Sanders famously quipped, "Football is my wife, and baseball is my mistress." Yet Sanders' body had other ideas. In August, he went on the disabled list with a respiratory infection, abruptly ending his baseball season. He also missed 5 NFL games, yet managed to lead the league with 7 interceptions. Sanders finished the season with 6 interceptions and 3 defensive touchdowns in just 14 games.
When he arrived in the San Francisco 49ers clubhouse and locker room, it was like parachuting a rock star into that entire team. Everybody stopped to see what Deion was doing.
He even got revenge against his former team in the sweetest way possible. This left the league with no choice but to name him Defensive Player of the Year. And best of all, he won over the skeptics.
Time, and the pass is caught. And here's Ricky Waters, and he has another first down.
That same season, the 49ers posted a staggering 13-3 regular season record. Yet, the 49ers had a massive problem. It was 1994, and they hadn't made a Super Bowl since 1989. Worse yet, their arch rival, the Dallas Cowboys, defeated the 49ers in back-to-back NFC Championship games. So the 1994 NFC Championship wasn't just important, it was personal.
Intercepted by Eric Davis. Score for the 49ers. This time, it gets it to Novacek. Novacek to the 30.
Once the 49ers beat their nemesis, fans knew what was coming next. Deion Sanders was finally atop the NFL. Heck, bro even released his own rap album. But once the offseason started, things took a dramatic turn. See, Sanders wanted to re-sign with the 49ers, but they didn't even make him an offer. Instead, he signed a record-breaking 7-year, $35 million contract with the Cowboys, making him the league's highest-paid defender.
I don't care what it takes. You get me Deion.
Deion! Are you ready? I was born ready. Run, cowboy!
However, the Cowboys were hiding a huge secret. His 1995 salary was the league minimum in addition to a $13 million signing bonus, allowing the Cowboys to land the game's best cornerback without using their salary cap. That said, Sanders was out of commission up until Week 9 due to arthroscopic surgery. He also only recorded 2 interceptions in the entire season. But the Cowboys had other ideas for their star player. They flew past their postseason competition to make their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. And that's when they let Primetime loose.
First down, goes long for Sanders. Caught by Deion at the 15-yard line.
Only the Cowboys weren't finished, because soon after they were Super Bowl champs.
Going back to the year 1996, when the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl and celebrated with a parade.
The parade kicked off with who else but the Tyler Jr. Apache Band and Apache Bells. Fans crowded downtown streets just to catch a glimpse of their favorite players.
For the 2nd season straight, Deion Sanders was a Super Bowl champion. I mean, this dude was everywhere. I'm talking Pepsi, Burger King, Pizza Hut, and even Nike.
Meat lovers or stuffed crust pizza? Both. One and all. Now Pizza Hut offers our lovers line toppings. Meat lovers, pepperoni lovers, or supreme. Piled high in a stuffed crust pizza. So what'll it be, Deion? 15, 20 million?
And this time, he was ready to make a life-altering decision. While Prime's football career was never better, his baseball journey was getting rocky. In 1994, Sanders was traded from the Braves to the Cincinnati Reds. And in 1995, he was traded to the San Francisco Giants. So in 1996, Sanders decided to focus all his efforts on football. But there was a massive caveat. He would also start as a receiver, making him the NFL's first two-way player since Chuck Bednarik in 1962. Overall, Sanders finished the season with 475 receiving yards, 2 interceptions, and 3 fumble recoveries. It was his 4th time making first-team All-Pro in 5 seasons, but it didn't translate to his 3rd straight Super Bowl, and Sanders couldn't resist a return to baseball. In 1997, Sanders returned to the Cincinnati Reds and stole 56 bases in 115 games, the 5th most in the league. Then he reported to Dallas and made his 6th Pro Bowl and 5th first-team All-Pro. But deep down, his personal life was falling apart. Primetime had never been better, but Deion Sanders was struggling.
That's suicidal.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was suicidal. I was,
that's deep.
Everything, dog. I had everything. Every time you turn on the TV, I was on every commercial. Top of my game, playing 2 sports. And I tried to take myself out in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Off the field, his relationship with his wife Caroline deteriorated, so he started to seek joy in other things. Mansions, cars, shoes, and sex. But none of these distractions seemed to work. And one morning, Sanders woke up to 2 or 3 women in his bed and thought to himself, what am I doing with my life? And Deion Sanders desperately wanted help. It seemed like no one understood. So that's when Sanders made a decision. One day, he got in his car in Cincinnati and started driving. Next, he picked up speed on the highway. And before long, he's driving off a cliff at 70 miles per hour, flying through the air and falling 40 feet to his death. That's when a divine spirit intervened. After deciding to take his life, Sanders opened his eyes and realized he was nearly unscratched.
And I remember the police came down and they knocked on my window. They said, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Somebody ran you off the road?" I said, "No." because I wasn't a liar. I've never been a liar, and I told the truth. And my attorney at the time, Eugene Parker, who's passed now, he said, look, either I'm going to get you some help or we're going to have to step away from the game and get yourself together some type of way, because this is real. And I said, all right. And he introduced me to this gentleman named Pastor David Forbes from Columbus, Ohio. I was in Cincinnati, so I made the drive to him and he made the drive to me, and I start spiritual.
And from that moment on, Sanders decided to change his life and devote himself to Jesus.
It was like the wind came in and papers was flying around the room, and the lights bright as like a 747 could have landed in there. And I remember saying, Lord, if that's you, take me. Lord, take me, take me. Lord, take me, take me, take me. If that's you, take me, take me, take me. I was reciting it like that. And that's when I gave my life to the Lord.
Reborn by his newfound faith, he once again focused solely on football and had 2 more amazing seasons in '98 and '99. Yet both seasons ended the same way, a first-round exit. Then on June 2nd, 2000, the Cowboys decided to cut ties with Sanders to make salary cap room. Days later, Redskins owner Dan Snyder took one of the biggest gambles in NFL history. He signed the 8-time Pro Bowler to a whopping 7-year, $56 million contract. And at first, the Redskins seemed ready for a historic season. They started the season red hot, winning 6 of their first 8 games. But then the wheels slowly started to fall off the bus, and the Redskins dropped 6 of their final 8 games to miss the playoffs. That's when Deion Sanders shocked everyone. He retired. But it wouldn't stay that way for long. In 2001, he rejoined the Cincinnati Reds for one last dance in the MLB.
Gets a big break. Deion sends it to right. That's gonna be gone. Welcome back, Deion Sanders.
Yet, he was now 33 years old and a shell of his former self. After 29 games and a 173 batting average, Prime didn't have much of a choice this time. He was released, and it stayed that way for more than 2 years, until Prime couldn't stay any longer. In 2000, Sanders made his triumphant return to the NFL. After 3 whole years without a single NFL game,
38 years old. That guy makes plays even when he's an old man.
Overall, 18 seasons in the NFL. He won 2 Super Bowls, made 8 Pro Bowls, 6 first-team All-Pro selections, and was the 1994 Defensive Player of the Year. Despite a significant MLB career, he'll forever be remembered as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. While he loved both baseball and football was the one sport that loved him back. Time as a head coach.
Our 21st head football coach, the legendary Deion Coach Prime Sanders.
These are tears that you don't understand the prayers that has been made. These are tears of satisfaction. These are tears of joy. These are tears that just establish how proud I am to stand before my people. I said to stand before my people.
In 2020, Sanders took over as the coach of Jackson State. In 3 seasons, he finished with an impressive 27-6 record. But once again, his story isn't finished.
Yeah, how about that?
Now, as the coach of Colorado, Deion Sanders is attempting to take one of college football's most storied programs back to the promised land. To some, such a turnaround would seem impossible. And for most people, you would be right. But if you've learned anything about Deion Sanders, is that he's attempted the absurd. To attempt the absurd can achieve the impossible.
Sanders